every one of them prefaced the conversation with, I want to talk to you about something, but you've got to promise not to tell anyone because they won't understand. And after about the third conversation, I said, you know, people here would really understand. Oh, no. Well, I said, I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, they wouldn't. So I didn't spill the secret. That came back to me when I was talking about, first had the idea of workplace altars. It also came back to me how much I had gradually seen the progression of things from their hiding places in the desk drawers onto the desktop. So I create an assignment for myself through that OD network, which was to go back to the law firm where I then worked, this big, tough corporate law firm, and other places with my camera and get stories and photos of what people did to keep spirit alive at work. Well, I found an eyeful. It's just under my eyes. And the one that was most shocking was after I had talked to one of the receptionists, who was really acknowledged by almost everyone as the spirit keeper of the whole firm. She says, oh, you've got to go talk to so-and-so, who was one of the senior partners in the labor department. And I thought, him? You know, he's very aloof, and, you know, I've really never had any conversation with him. Though I'd been in his office almost every day for, you know, over the last couple months to put something on his desk or take something off, you know. So I went in and talked to him, very, again, with trepidation. And he grinned. What he showed me was right to the left side of his desk, which had been there every day and I never noticed, was this collection of books: Bhagavad Gita, Bible, Quran, poetry, black pearls. I don't even remember what all was in there. I've got a photograph of it, just sitting there. And he was telling me that the little tags on it, you know, the little Post-it note colored tags, they were there to mark special passages he left. And he says, look, I look at these when I'm really stressed, or I just like knowing these things, and they support me. And he said one time he had a Texas lawyer who was very evangelical Christian and was working on a case with him come look at those, and the guy was very disturbed at first. He went, how can you have the Bible next to the Quran and the Bhagavad Gita? I think that's where he had deliberately placed them. And the attorney told the guy from Texas that he'd like to see all viewpoints. He says, well, by the end of that long trial, only were together there for a couple of months. He says, that guy was starting to thumb through the other things. And there were other things that this attorney had done in his office. He had deliberately mixed pictures of himself and his family with pictures of him and his colleagues. And that was both reminding him of how much friendship mattered and how much his family mattered, and that he always wanted to remember them. He also had a really wonderful collection of sayings, both serious questions about God, and one was just humorous ones. I don't remember them right now, but again, they're photographed. And then behind was a poem someone had written for him about not always being so dour and lightening up. That blew my mind. And I found lots more, just lots more. I find that when I think of workplace altars, what I'm thinking about is what you bring to your workspace to remind you, this is who I really am and this is what matters. For some people, it's simply the photographs of the family. And that's usually allowed. But I found other things, a lot of poetry, a lot of inspirational quotes. I particularly like to put little quotes on my day timer. I like to stick them into file for projects that need a lot of help, and have a lot in my marketing folder for myself. I have just found almost everything. Rarely candles, though. I'll often find little water fountains, bubbling fountains that are in many workplaces, and people enjoy them. The only rules I've seen about them is that whatever you put on your desk has to be for you. I've developed a whole kind of etiquette around that, for example, if I'm your supervisor, the last thing you want to see behind me is, and have to stare at during a meeting, is a representation of my religion, or even a representation of others' religions. For example, I love Buddhist art, but that would be the most inappropriate thing to put behind me, whether I'm Buddhist or not Buddhist. For me as a non-Buddhist, to put it up would be demeaning Buddhism, where I'm just using it as art in a public setting. And no person can push that faith on another person. that I've seen people deal with it very simply. For example, I saw a woman who was Jehovah's Witness at work, and she wanted to keep her Jehovah's Witness materials on the desk. And they talked to her and they says, fine, you can keep it on the part of the desk that faces you, but no, you can't keep them out on the platform where your work is picked up or put down. That's, that was more public. And she had been putting them there as kind of like a proselytizing tract. They said no, and I think that was absolutely appropriate. That, again, is another discussion. And I've talked with a number of attorneys about legal issues around spirituality and work, and that's a whole new opening field. But mainly what I've heard from attorneys around spirit and work is the same thing I have heard from HR people, OD people, etiquette experts, is kindness and compassion always wins out. Respectfulness. And respectfulness means not the old golden rule of doing unto others the way I want to be done, but listening to them and asking how they want to be treated. I think that's much deeper and much richer.